Hello, good evening. Normally I say good morning, and I would normally say it's Sunday at 10:30 a.m., but it's not. It's Tuesday at 6 p.m., which I have never streamed at this time before. Sunday Club has never happened at this time before, and it kind of ruins the name now that I think about it. But this is super exciting for me. A couple of weeks ago, I was looking on Twitch and found I was looking for people streaming Rails and Ruby and things like that, and I was excited to come across Sam, who has been streaming on Twitch his journey of learning Rails, working with Rails, and his progress on building his application, and has a streaming streak that is truly impressive. So the consistency of just like, not necessarily every day, but like most days, turning up, doing the work, and making progress. And as he has progressed through his streaming journey, other people have started turning up. And uh, I was one of those people who turned up, and so we paired a little bit a couple weeks ago, and I said it would be amazing to bring Sam onto the stream for more people to kind of be exposed to him, what he's building. Everything he's doing is open source, and also maybe then come and check out his stream. There is one downside: it's at 5 o'clock in the morning sometimes, but mine's at 10:30 on a Sunday, and no one wants that either. So we're always picking the most social stuff. So let's hopefully, if technology allows us to, we are gonna bring him on screen, bring up his mic. Sam, are you there?
I am here.
Right. I'm hoping that the chat is going to tell us if that audio is working, because I can hear you, and I'm just going to check. I'm checking this. Yes, I can hear you on the stream. Okay, amazing. Welcome.
Perfect.
Hello.
Hello. Glad to be here.
It's very exciting. All right. Do you want to tell, like, I'm hoping we can point people at this video as a way to sort of introduce them to what you're doing. Can you tell people a bit about what it is that you're working on and what you're doing?
Yeah, so I guess background, like I run a British basketball website called hoopsfix.com. And we're a media platform predominantly. We cover sort of every level of basketball in the UK. And over the years, I've hired many developers for various projects, and just get very frustrated with not being able to do these things myself. I've had many failed attempts at trying to learn to code. I've always kind of felt like my natural disposition is, my brain isn't built in a way that sort of suits thinking logically about various things. And I've given up many times. And at the start of last year, I just said, you know what, I'm just going to do it, and I'm going to show up every single day, even if I've got no idea what I'm doing, and sort of brute force my way through trying to get somewhere. And I would still say I've got a long way to go. I've still got no clue what I'm doing a lot of the times. But after doing a few different courses, I actually decided to just building my own thing, because I felt like the tutorials were teaching me stuff that I didn't necessarily know how I was going to apply it with what I wanted to do. And I saw a lot of advice online is to kind of build your own project. So I was just like, you know what, even though I've got no idea what I'm doing, let me just start trying to build my own thing, and then Googling problems as I come to them, to sort of try and get to some level of a competent product. So what we're trying to do is build a live stream directory. So in the UK, a lot of basketball games are streamed online because there are not broadcast deals in the traditional sense like you would have in football, rugby, on TV. And so a lot of fans are looking for a singular place where you can find all of the streams that are happening each weekend across every level of the game. And so we wanted to make it so that when teams set up their stream, just like we've done for this Sunday Club, on YouTube or Twitch or wherever they're streaming it, they can come to a website, a central location, which will be on, as you can see, the domain on the site, live.hoopsfix.com. They can click submit their stream up in, let me just bring that back, up in the top right corner here, and then select their competition, the home team, the away team, the date, the tip-off time, the stream link, the stats link, click submit, and then at the back end on the admin, I'm logged in as an admin right now, I'll get pending sort of streams when they're sent in. I can click approve, and then when they're approved, they would appear here. And it's just, a central location for all streams within British basketball. We've got an archive which shows all the games that have been streamed so far. Handy little counter at the bottom here that counts all the streams we've had submitted. And then we've just got competitions, clubs, and teams pages for each of the clubs and teams that are streaming their games, so that you can find, if you wanted to search by competition, you can see all of the BBL Championship streams. If you wanted to search by club, you can click on a club, and then you can see the streams that that club has done over the course of the season.
This this is super impressive, but I think like before we jump into any kind of coding stuff, I'm just gonna kind of keep asking you a couple questions just so that people have context. So is this something that like just this is going to sound like really strange, but like are you did you conceive of this and like all the stuff that you've just shown us, like you've just shown us through those screens where there's like lists and then looking at those things, did you have a like a goal of what this looked like when you started? You were like, right, I see this in my mind at the end, or has it been that you have gradually like, right, okay, well I need to build an application, I'll do one thing, and then it's kind of kept going from there? Is yeah, does that
No,
question?
yeah, I had the vision from the start. I actually I did create wireframes.
Mhm.
So I've got a little bit of experience working with software. Like I said, I've hired developers before in the past. So I've got, even though I'm non-technical in the sense of I don't know how to code, I'd say for a non-coder, I'm relatively tech savvy in the sense of understanding, difference between front end and back end and databases and stuff like that. So I kind of know the process from a standpoint of where you start. And so I've just found them. So this was the original wireframes that I built on Balsamic.
Nice.
Um,
Okay.
which, I mean, basically it's just I originally had it. I don't know if you remember, there used to be there's like sort of illegal streaming sites that used to stream sports. I can't remember the
I
URLs,
wouldn't know
but
anything about doing anything illegal while we're live on the internet, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
but yeah, they were essentially laid out like this, where it's just one single page. That was the original plan, was just to have one single page, which is just all the upcoming streams of that day.
Mhm.
And then you could go onto the page and then you could find it. And then obviously you've got the submission page there
Oh,
for people
okay,
to be able
wow.
to submit their streams. Then it says thank you, and it goes through, and then there's an archive that's created of all the streams. So originally it was basically going to be just the front page of upcoming streams and the archive of streams that have been done in the past. And then, of course, over time, as I build it out, I was like, actually, it makes sense to build sort of clubs and teams pages, so you can filter by clubs, teams, and competitions as well for fans of those teams that just want to find streams of that specific club.
And so that's amazing. Like I mean, you've essentially like brought your wireframes to life, which is like the dream. Like that's the learning to code dream. It I suppose a couple more questions. Like this is live. Like I know that it's called live.hoopfix.com, but what I mean is like people can go to that URL right now. They can see it. Like are people using it? I use the phrase like in anger at the moment. Like have you told people about it? Has it been like a stealth launch, as
No,
people
no.
call it?
We've promoted it. We put it, so it went live a couple weeks ago, and then the first weekend, which was the weekend before last, we set up all the streams for that weekend ourselves. Because at the moment, obviously, we've got to create that behavior where clubs understand that they can go to this site and submit their streams when they create them. Right now,
Mhm.
I know all the teams that stream, so I'm manually going to all of their pages each weekend,
Right.
finding their streams, and then creating all the streams myself. But it's getting to the point where word is getting out. I mean, the site's had. We've got Google Analytics installed. I think we've had a few hundred visits so far, but we've had a few people tweet about it, a few people message me about it, how useful it is already, which is like super positive feedback. I
Amazing.
was just going to say, so like here's the Hoopsfix Twitter. You can see this one went out this weekend after we put out sort of 6 streams, just saying for people to telling clubs to make sure that they use it.
And
And
there's
we
a
put
community of people out there who are actively like keen to have this resource
yeah,
available,
so
so they
that
can kind of do that
exactly.
work.
So that was the tweet that we put out this weekend ahead of the games. Obviously, it's
Mhm.
got 7 retweets, 18 likes. Then we had a club message their YouTube link, and I replied saying, "Oh, you can actually submit it yourself." So again, it's just getting to that point where clubs realize that they can do it, and then obviously it
Yeah.
saves me a lot of work at the moment because it's taking a lot of my time each weekend to set up all the streams, because sometimes we'll have 15, 20 games that are streamed over the course of a weekend. But yeah, I think it's going to be super useful. At the moment, it's everything. All of the different leagues are on different websites. So for any fan that just is free on a Wednesday afternoon and doesn't know what is on, they can just go to one central location. It's all there. So yeah, I think it's going to really solve a problem, and also it's helped all the clubs in terms of getting more eyeballs on their streams, which hopefully will help them be able to commercialize their streams by being able to use those numbers with sponsors and say, we've got X amount of people watching our streams each weekend.
Amazing. Okay, one more question before we look at some actual code. So this the repository for the Rails application that powers this is open source, so
Yes.
people can go take a look at it. Was that a kind of a conscious choice that you made up front? Was it because of the streaming that you were doing, or how did you decide to open source that and make it available for people to take a look at?
Yeah, well, I think part of it is like, I love the whole building public movement. I love following people on Twitter that are building stuff and creating things. And I really believe in open source as well. Like, like I said, I'm not a coder, and what I'm hoping is off the back of sort of me doing this, there'll be other people that in the UK that used to play basketball or whatever that kind of want to get behind the movement and help build cool things like technology products that will help basketball in the UK. So and I think making it open source makes it clear that I'm not out here trying to monetize anything or do it like that. It's really genuinely about helping the game, and also from a standpoint of I said this to you when we had our call the other week, but from me streaming every single week, the amount of people that have come across the stream that have then had a look at my code because they can access it all on GitHub, and then give me feedback and tell me that I should do things this way, or what's wrong with this, or when things aren't working can kind of help me out. That's been like super useful. So like I don't think there was any more thought into it other than that. But I think that doing all of this publicly and making it all open has been one of the most powerful things to get it to this point. Like, as much as it's easy for me to say, oh yeah, I've sat here over the last year and a half and done this all myself. Like there's been, 6, 7, 8 people that have, including yourself, that have jumped on calls with me, that have messaged me, that have just been on my streams on Twitch every morning to help guide me through it. And the same with all the front end stuff, like CSS does my nut, and I'm not the best at it. And a guy called Chris Morgan's helped me out massively with all this front end stuff. And so it's already had, like, I think there's 6, 7, 8 people that have contributed to getting this to where it is. So yeah, like that's kind of like the thought process behind it.
Amazing. Okay, so thank you for people dropping into comments and see live. Justin says live pair programming seems like an awesome thing to do. Justin, we are about to do this for the first time, so I hope it's going to be an awesome thing to do, but we're about to find out, I think. We will post a link in the YouTube description of this video to the GitHub repo, to the live site, and to your Twitch channel. So if people are interested, they can kind of sort of like kind of reach out to you later if they're interested in helping or getting involved in any way. I've seen that there are like pull requests on the repo, so people are doing stuff. So and what I do see a lot on Twitter is people looking for like entry points into repositories, like, hey, what is actually being worked on here? And for established projects, that can sometimes be hard to find. Like if you're trying to make maybe your first few pull requests or something like that, it's a bit intimidating to look at a huge decade-long repository and just like dive in, whereas an active project like this might be kind of easier to find a foothold and just reach out to you and be like, hey, what are you looking to do? Can I maybe make a pull request or something? So that might be a resource for people.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. All
right, let's dive in, shall we? I reached out to you and said, let's do some pairing, and is there a couple of things you wanted to look at? And you had 2 things, but I think it's worth can I mention what the other one was?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So the thing that I had suggested we sort of defer was a Twitter integration of some sort into the application. And that I think is like a really good thing to stream, because it's just such a common thing that people want to do, and you bump into a lot of things on the way that like a lot of people have had to think through. You look at all the resources out there that are available and things like that. And so hopefully if we do this again, we might be able to look at something larger like that. But the reason I suggested we look at the other thing was just for scale. So if people are wondering like why kind of why we're looking at what we're looking at, it's just that like we might do this again if people find it useful, or if we are interested in it, I guess, and bring people into it. But we didn't want to try and dive right in at the super deep end. But if people are interested in that, or if there are like other resources that they are interested in, like I would be interested in finding out like that as well. So maybe, yeah, I just thought that was worth mentioning. But do you want to kind of run us through what you did suggest, kind of might want to take a look at?
Yeah, so like I said, I feel pressure now because generally when I'm streaming, I just feel like it's only myself, and so there's no one looking at the awfulness of what I've done.
Oh well, not at all, not at all. Like it's like yeah, I think we have to kind of set the like the bar up around, like it's amazing. Like you've already come this far. You've mentioned several times like you're like you said like I'm not a coder or I'm not a developer. Like I've paired with you and we looked at a bunch of code. That's it. That's the only line you need to say. Like
Yeah.
you write code. Like it's a thing. You're all good, I think.
So yeah, so there's been a lot of copying and pasting that I've done to get various things to work. And as I've gone further down the rabbit hole, obviously I've learned of this thing called partials, where you can, from my understanding, you take these repeated blocks of code and you can sort of put them in a separate file in views, and then just call on them from the file that you want that snippet of code to appear in, to just clean it up.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, on this, for any upcoming games, we have this sort of section, upcoming streams, both on the index, on competition pages, so you can see here, and on club pages you can see here, but actually on the back end in views. So if I go, so on the index, you can just see that I have, that is the admin. So you can see this section from here down to, let's have a look. Yeah, to here pretty much, is repeated both on every single one of those pages. So this is it's a team show page. So you can see the same snippet will be down here in upcoming games. Yeah, upcoming live streams. So it's right here. And then on the competitions, on the show page, it's the same thing here. So yeah, so basically my suggestion, what I would like to do, what I think makes sense to do, is to essentially turn this stuff into partials so that we can strip down, all of the repeated snippets of code throughout the thing. So I'll be interested kind of hearing what you think about that, and yeah, what the best way, how you would approach it if it was you, really.
Perfect. Okay, so Justin has popped a question in the chat. Justin, I'm going to come back to that question. I'm going to kind of circle back afterwards just to keep us on flow. But I am going to come back to that, so it will get covered. So I might not do everything in order. And I was just making some notes on Sam and what you were saying. Can I ask you to just bump your font size up a little bit, because I can predict that feedback that I'm about to get.
How do I do that?
I think if you do Command plus, might get you in most applications.
Right.
Bump you up. That's usually the keyboard shortcut for it. It might not have. We have some apps on the stream where that's not possible. What we agree in.
Yeah, that's what it does in Photoshop, but it's not doing it in this.
Yeah, we've got a view appearance. If anyone in the chat uses RubyMine and knows how to zoom the text, then hit us up. I will Google it in a minute. Okay, so there's
see if I can find it.
Adjustments.
Increase text size. RubyMine.
I'm just going to grab the repo while you're googling that. I'm just going to grab the repo out and pop it in the chat, which might help just answer Justin's questions as well.
Appearance and behavior.
Oh my. Font size? Oh, that's in presentation mode. Okay, maybe that's not it. Okay, that's not too bad. People can zoom in. This stream should be in HD, so they can zoom in. And if it's not readable at all, let us know in the chat.
It's going to be in here. It says general editor, general. Change font size with command mouse wheel.
That sounds terrifying.
How do you even do that?
Apply, and then have you got a mouse wheel?
I've got a. Well, that doesn't do anything. No.
All right, let's leave it because we'll we
Yeah.
can circle back to this one. We'll figure that out for next time. If anyone discovers that in the chat, then drop it in and we can go from there.
It does say it does say doing a mouse wheel, but I haven't got a mouse wheel, so I've got no idea how that would be done.
Modern technology. All right, okay. So we've got 3 areas where we know the output is at the moment copied and pasted, and it's the same. So I guess my first question is, without looking too much into them, is like, I can see that we've got. So first of all, like, is the current behavior what we want? Like, if we've copied and pasted them into 3 different places, like, are they? Is the current state the goal? Like, is it working as you want it to?
Yes.
Okay, great.
I think the only thing I've done is change on the controller for each one. I changed the instance variable to filter for only games for that competition or whatever it is, so that it only takes the games that it's meant to. If it's on the competitions page, it's only showing the games from the competition. If it's on the clubs page, it's only showing games from that club. But
cool, okay,
the code is essentially the same, and the instance variable name I think is the same on all of them. I think it's all grouped. I've called it team games here.
Okay, so there's a collection that it expects to exist. So every time we use that code, there is some sort of collection that we name something, and it then inspects the collection. So I guess, I'm just prep this. I really feel like I'm at work. So I guess my next question is like, we've got some logic in here, so I can see that we've got like, I'll read some code out because I don't know if the font time stuff. So we've got an instance variable called grouped games, and this view code checks to see if it's blank, but it's a collection. But that's like a synonym for empty, or an alias for empty, I think. And then it loops over that collection and then does a bunch of stuff on each thing in that collection. And grouped game dot last dot each. What is this? There's like an iteration within here. What's this one doing?
Good question. So
for each grouped game, we're inside this code here.
Yeah.
And then we have grouped game dot first. So is this a collection? Like, what is a group? Is a group game a collection of games?
Yeah. So the group game, I can double check. What are we in the competitions right now?
Competition show, yeah.
So in the competitions controller, I believe. Yeah, so it's approved games that are upcoming from the competition that are ordered by date and grouped by time as well.
Okay, so grouped games is a collection of games. So when we then do, so it's a group by, and group by produces, so it's a Ruby group by, and group by produces a collection. Right. Okay, yeah. So what we have is each grouped game is not a game; it's a collection of games. It's a right. Okay, yeah.
So it could be labeled a lot better.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a naming thing. So a grouped game. Yes. Okay. So I think naming is.
So this is because I've copied and pasted it right. So on the initial index, we were just trying to group the games. So it was just like I'll just call it group games, and then I've just copied and pasted that. That's why I'm surprised that I've changed it, but I worked out how to change it on the teams one, so that it says team games is what I should have done on the competitions. But I think the competitions page was actually the first one that we did after we'd done the index. And yeah, at this point, obviously, as you can see, there's some work to do to clean it up.
That might be part of, so like, we're looking to refactor this out into a partial, and refactoring is always a good opportunity to examine naming, and naming is always like, I don't know, it dominates 90% of conversations in development. Is like, what are we going to call this thing? Because it doesn't, in the end, it never really matters, because whatever you call it, you're bound to screw yourself over in 6 months anyway, so it's basically a moot point. Okay, so this is a group of games. But does this behave like the other example? So this is
Yes.
a group of games, and the other ones are also groups of games.
Yes.
Okay, great. So we can sort of treat those the same. So we know that what we have is a group of groups, a collection of groups, and that's going to get passed in. And then can you scroll down? Sorry, I'm just looking for anything that might jump out. We've got an image. We put
This is the
some
play
URLs
circle
in
that's
there.
on the side of the
Yep. So that's
of the thing that links to the game.
okay. Yep. And then Team DSL is on the right. Yep. And this code, like visually, it all just sort of, it doesn't matter what order it's in. There's nothing that changes whether it's on the left or right or anything like that. It's all just it all just stacks neatly.
It's all the same. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, let's let me just ask you more annoying questions before carrying on. So, do we have any tests for this code at the moment?
No.
Okay. So,
Define.
that's good. It means
tests.
sorry. I mean like automated tests. So that would be like mini test or RSpec. So there would be like or feature test or integration tests where it's like, visit a URL, click this button, fill in this form, click that, and then check that something exists on the page or that something has happened. So like some automated test that you would run to check that the site was working as expected.
No.
Okay, but that
definitely not.
well, in that case, but the good thing about that is we can't break the tests if there aren't any. But that might be something that in the future we might explore a little bit to help, because one of the things that introducing automated tests can give you is confidence in refactoring. So we're about to take 3 bits of code, try and turn them into 1 bit of code that we then use in 3 places. And what a test can do is sort of say, I'll check that this works, and once you've moved the code around, this still works. So you kind of get that like confidence in the refactoring.
Yeah.
Whereas we could easily break one of these, and we're going to be super diligent and go and look and check and stuff like that. But in the future, you might have like 150 places where it's used, and you are never going to check all 150. So like an automated test might be the way around that. But that's
Gotcha.
all good. Okay, so let's crack in then. Do you want to drive if you type? And do should we make our first partial?
Yes. And is my, like, from what I read and looked at this morning, you create the partial within every single category that you're going to use it within views, right? Or not? Or can you create a separate folder called partials and then stick them all in there? I actually might.
Yeah, you can create a separate folder and call it what you like, really. You can put partials, I think on a technical level, you can sort of plonk them wherever you want them, but there are some like most of Rails, there are conventions that you would look for that sort of make sense for you. So we've got partials on here. So the convention is to
underscore first, right?
Underscore first, yeah. And I think that's like codified. I don't think that's just a developer convention. I think Rails expects that. I think there's behaviors that I have no idea, but I think there's behaviors that rely on that underscore. Maybe I'm talking up my ass there. I don't know. So if people know in the chat, they can chime in. But this one here sort of makes sense. So from a Rails like basic scaffolding or like a CRUD application, I would make an assumption that this edit page and probably this new page both use this form partial because they're in the same directory. It's a form, so you're going to be editing or creating the thing. And having it in the same place sort of makes sense because you're only going to be using it there. So having it within the clubs directory, like presumably you're creating or editing a club, and so like the naming of that folder and the location of the partial tells you everything you need to know.
Gotcha.
But what we can do, if we sort of collapse these down a little bit just to look at our views hierarchy. I don't know Ruby mine, so I don't know if there's like a default collapse.
I don't know if I don't know how to do them all. I do it one by one.
Does this one up here do a default collapse? Oh, no, does it just do the one you're in?
Yeah, it looks like. What about that one? Oh, it does
it's done the whole thing.
Oh dear.
Okay, that's okay. Oh no, it's just on the high level one. Okay, great. Actually, yeah. So then if we go apps, views, perfect. That's what I was looking for. So discovery is okay. So in here, do we have a shared or an includes or anything like that? That's kind of a common naming that I often see. So what I sometimes see, and I'm like I said, I think you can put them where you want them, is sometimes there's like a high level folder called shared or includes or something like that. And
Right.
that then can have subfolders within it. And that might include partials that are used all over the place. So the idea of putting them in a root directory that's not tied to any like clubs or competitions or archive or anything like that extracts them out of that. But you might have shared / clubs or something like that. And again, people can put them where they like. So I'm not trying to advocate that anything I say is right or wrong. So should we just do it? Should we chuck one in and try and get it up and running?
Yeah. So if we got it, we do it on. We do the competition one first.
Yeah, let's make a
Should we do the-
directory. If we make a directory within views,
Yeah.
make a new folder in there and just call it. I don't know. Let's just pick shared for now.
Shared.
And
New file in there.
yeah, let's just make one. And what's the name of the thing that we're making?
Let's call it upcoming streams.
So it's the unit. So, but the output of the partial is like the unit of the view. Like, if you had 10 of these on the page, what does the unit represent? Is it an upcoming stream?
Yeah, it is an upcoming stream. Yeah,
it's an upcoming stream. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So if we call it upcoming stream, we can change.
What do you do if you want spaces?
Underscore. Yeah.
Upcoming stream. Oh, I should call it like .html.erb.
Yep.
.html.erb.
Yep. All right. So if we just
Did that work?
does it not put the HTML? No, I think we have to rename that.
Oh, I want to go new. Sorry.
Rename?
Where is rename? Maybe I don't have rename. Can I just, I thought if I clicked, let me just create a new one. Let's just do it. Let me delete that because this is not going to work. A new file. Can you put would it be Ruby file class, or because it's Rails is it different, or ERB?
I think it would be ERB. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. So upcoming stream.
Okay, cool. You need it .html.erb though. I think it processes that as well. I think you need that because
yeah, no, it should be.
Maybe ERB would work.
All the others have got it, but I don't understand how to.
There must be we're gonna learn about RubyMine after today.
There must
be a
there's the rename.
Oh, there you go.
.html. HTML.erb. Okay, there we go.
Cool. Well, should we get this working? Like, if we were to just put an H1 tag in here that just says hello or something like just something big on the screen that we know can work. Should we just get this rendering out first, and then like let's check that we can do something. So we've got that. So we know that when this partial works, we should have some text on the screen that just says hello. And so now we can sort of like have an initial version where we get this on a screen somewhere. So where do we want to go first?
Well, we're going to do the competitions page first.
Let's do the competitions. Okay, so let's jump in there. And so if we go to the top of where we're going to start to turn into our partial,
which will be just underneath.
Here.
This container here, or we can put it above the container. Or
well, this code is. Yeah, I mean this is where we get to the kind of the good stuff as to like what we want to include in the partial and what we don't. So styling, like div class container is a good example. Like, does the partial itself contain the container, or does it always exist within a container and you need to remember that every time you used it? But we'll come to those questions later on. If we assume for now that we plonk it in the container and we just chuck it within there, if we put a render tag in, so it'd be an ERB tag and then render. And then, well, normally if you were in the same directory, you can just pass the name of the partial. But
Yeah.
because we aren't going to call one in the same directory, we're going to need to put in a
Shared
string.
/
Yeah, which is like shared /. Yeah.
Shared / upcoming stream. Just like that.
And it will need quotes around it because it will be passed in as a string. Oh, amazing. So yeah, for people, I think we'll need
Equals.
Yeah, do we need an equals for a render sign? Yes, because it's going to get rendered out. Or does render handle that? For a tag that I used 1 million times a day. I'm assuming it does need the equals. Layout and rendering in Rails. It's fun to know that like how many times a day I Google the most basic of things.
That's what I was thinking. I'm gonna have to Google so much as we're going through this.
I-
That is
there is-
basically my process.
There is no stigma in that. I Google the odds of me holding anything in my head day to day are basically zero. Let's stick an equals in. What's the worst that can happen?
Okay.
So
Then I go check it on my local.
let's go check it on localhost. So we should have something that says hello.
So
Or
if I
it'll break because
go
we've got that equals.
to a competition page. There it is.
Amazing. So we now have the ability to shove code in a file somewhere and call it from any view. So we can now grab that render call and chuck it anywhere, which is super cool. So what that gives us is potentially shared styling, shared content, and shared logic. And the thing we now need to do is get what already exists into it and keep it all still working. So let's go back to our competitions view then.
Oh, you want to go to the view? Or you?
Oh, sorry, so the view code. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're looking in the if group claims blank, so we pass the collection in, we're checking the presence of the collection, we're going to go all the way down. And so this partial is going to end at the end of the end, I would guess.
Yeah, this is all a bit messy with all the ends.
Yeah, one of the things I would say is that like I think these days my like the how hardcore I would be about making the tab indent, like the spacing indentations match, would be like extreme. Like
really,
I can't imagine a world in which I would see a pull request go through where if the end didn't line up with the start of the block, that it would happen. Like that's
because
you find yourself
div as well. Surely,
yes, because you find yourself chasing down like what's actually started and what's actually ended, and you'll see that like what you get from your editor is these little open and close things, and you can actually collapse the block of code so that you view them. And so I'm sure that like RubyMine's super fancy and they'll always line up, but I would expect to sort of do that visually where I could follow that like grouped games down visually and just hold my mouse in one place, and I would expect to see the end tag line up with it exactly, because if it's a different end tag, it's going to confuse the shit out of me. Like I mean me as in me individually, but also me as in another engineer working on the code later on. So as you go along, you'll think, why am I pressing space and moving these all around? And then future Sam is going to think, oh, I'm so grateful you did that. Like I really appreciate it. So we just
all of these ends, should they link individually to where? Should they all sit within each part where the Ruby starts?
So only
as opposed to all at the end.
No, so each one, so an end like this will only exist for things for certain starts, basically. Like they're basically like they are the end. They denote the end of usually like it's a block or something like that. I don't think there's anything else that needs an end. So like these will all for you be like dot eaches, I would guess that these are the start of. I think the ones we were looking at above. So for every dot each, you would have like dot each do, and then you're passing the name of the thing that you're going to loop over. You would then have a corresponding end. But in your view code, you might have, well, you've got nested, like this one here is grouped within this one. So,
Right.
and you might have a certain amount of HTML within each one. So you might have some ends that are really close to the start of the loop in this case. You might have some that have loads of logic in between. And what partials let you do is sort of like collapse that down a little bit, because you're generally trying not to try and hold all of that in your head or in one place, because you're probably going to need to rename it, but like rework it and things like that. All right. Justin has posted in the chat, HTML Beautifier is a good VS Code extension for formatting. So you don't have to do all of your spaces yourself. There are some extensions. Using RubyMine, I'm guessing they would have extensions where maybe like when you press save, they might like move your code around for you just to try and save you having to do all the spaces.
Right. Okay.
All right, let's work out where we start. So this is the start here, and we want the last relevant end. So we want the end that corresponds to this. So we do if, then we do else, and there is an end. So it must be the last of these ones. So I would assume it's on this line here, going all the way down, but I don't know if that's the case. Okay,
There
yes. Is that the last one? We hope so.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So let's grab all of that out. We'll just brute force it to start with. Let's break it before we fix it. Yeah, all the way up to the if, and let's just cut it.
Here. You want me to actually cut it out?
Yep, just Command X. Yep, let's get
Okay.
it out. Then we're going to go over to our partial. We're going to paste it right, and we can take our hello out. We can paste that right in.
Okay. I can take that out.
We can take that out. Yeah. So now it's even indented annoyingly there.
Oh, should I? Well, I should
You
have
can
delete it first, right?
Maybe yeah. With that, I think it's because it was already indented from where you cut it. So I don't know the shortcut, but there will be one in RubyMine for mass realignment. So you could take all of this code and I actually
Realign it.
I can't describe what it is because I just do it without looking down. I think mine might be Command Shift left square bracket, but there's code where you can like move it all to the left and right in one big go.
I wonder it's
I don't know if
indent
it's
selection. No.
Potentially try unindent. Try unindent selection. Yeah, there you go. So that's Shift Tab for you. I think mine is the old Sublime one. So we've moved that over. So let's press save on this.
Why is this all blue?
Why is this all blue? That's a good question, because your other one is HTML ERB, so it should format it. Why is that different to that as well? So this one knows that it's a Ruby
maybe
file.
Maybe it's because it's an ERB file, and we did the we just renamed it, didn't we? Rather than it actually being.
Oh, so if you close this, if you save it and then close it and then reopen it, will it re-index it?
Save it and say that again.
So if you save the file like Command S or whatever it is, and then just close this tab,
right,
and then just reopen the tab again, it has not worked. Okay. Oh yeah, look, it doesn't know what. Could you have to tell RubyMine that it is a different thing? Sorry, I feel like I don't know RubyMine well enough.
Why? Yeah, like how do you even? Because we did create an ERB file, then we added
HTML to it.
Maybe it's actually. Well, look, hang on. This is a HTML, isn't it? That's what it's. Is that a? What's the icon? It's an R. Is it an R? Which icon is that?
The ERB file one.
No, but for this one above it, which is an HTML, look, this isn't the same icon, right? So that's just like a paper without a green thing. That's got a green thing.
Okay, so if you write,
maybe it actually needs to be an HTML file, and then you add ERB on the end.
But those have got R, which is this one.
Oh, and that's got H. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I feel like my lack of RubyMine knowledge is not helping. If you do that again, if you go to this one and right click on it, does it give you? Just trying to see if it gives you anything to.
Should I Google create new HTML.erb file in RubyMine?
I love that we're trying to do software engineering, and the thing that's screwing us up is making a new text file. It's like, oh, we're fucked. Let's just save it. It'll work. It's the wrong color, but the code will work. because
Okay.
it's RubyMine's not the thing reading it. So as long as it's saved, and then we jump back to our local host, we'll come back to getting this the right color in a minute.
Okay. Cool.
So if we save that, so we've taken it, we've cut it from the other page, which we've saved. We've then pasted it here, and then we've saved this. And then if we jump back to our local host, let's see what we've done.
So yeah, up.
But we don't have any scheduled streams.
Yeah, but
which is great. This is still showing from the partial. It's just showing that first line.
Yeah, but it should be showing streams because there should be upcoming streams.
There should be.
Because let me just check on the homepage here. Oh no, you're right. It's because we haven't got an upcoming. Let me just create one.
Okay.
What was that? It's BBL Championship, isn't it? So
try override file type maybe in the chat. Do you know in the chat? Do you know where that override file type is? I'm going to Google it on the other screen.
Time.
While Sam's making the stream.
Stream link, stats link. Let's create that. So that's created a stream, and then if I approve it, then if we go to BBL Championship, okay, there you go. It's working. The partial's working.
Amazing. Okay, so what we have done is basically what you did originally, which is just like copy and paste the code over, and it happens to be reading the code from a new partial, but it's the same code. So of course it has to work because it's like, well, I'm basically identical to what I was before. Now the problem that we're going to have in a minute is that if we were to try and put that partial on one of the other pages, so we had competitions and it was in 2 other locations.
Yeah.
If we take that stream, if we take this render line that we had on competition show, and then we add that, so line 57.
The index.
If we add that to, home index or wherever that is, we can, I mean, you can either, we can plonk it above actually, like you can just like paste it above. So it should, what should technically happen is it would appear twice because you'd have this code and this code. But I have a sneaking suspicion that what should happen is it breaks. Does it work?
Hang on, let me do a hard refresh.
Oh, it does work. Okay, amazing. So is that because we have an instance variable? Is that one the one with the instance variable of the same name?
Yeah, it's the same as group games and group games.
Is it the other one that? Is it the other one that's going to break?
This is the one that will break. So yeah, so if I put it,
I think just chuck it above, just under 62.
And then we go to a team. So this should be a team.
I don't think we had. Did we add the render call on that one? Where did it go on?
Put it on I just put it on team shows there.
Oh, okay.
Shared upcoming stream. So in theory, it should. So.
Oh, okay, amazing. But because it's looking for an instance variable by default will just be nil, so it will be blank. So it doesn't matter that we don't have a variable of that name. It's not erroring because it's not looking. So basically, like what's happening at the moment is this code is showing upcoming streams, right?
Yeah.
And this one is the partial. And because there is no instance variable of that name, instead of showing an error, which is sort of what I was hoping it would do because it would be more dramatic if it exploded. It was in the concept when you right click on the file. Okay, cool. So what is actually happening is the first line I think says if at grouped games dot blank, I think is the first one. And so it's like it never gets set, and therefore an instance variable from a controller is blank. So it's like, oh, you're blank, great, okay. Whereas, what I was sort of like, if there wasn't an at symbol in front of it, and if it was relying on a variable called team games, it would have exploded.
Yeah.
All right, so that leads us to kind of like the main point that we want to get to with the partials, which is the idea of like, at the moment, this partial relies on an instance variable being set in a controller.
Yeah.
And in general, I'm just going to say something really sweeping in general, but your mileage may vary with it. In general, you possibly don't want to rely on that often. The idea being is that the partial itself is fairly self-encapsulated with everything that it needs to know. And so if you don't set something on a controller level, your partial almost should sort of explode. It should be like, hey, I don't know how to do what you've asked me to do here. Whereas at the moment, it's like, well, I'm relying on something global being set in a controller. But if you never set it, you'll never see the error because it's sort of working, but it's relying on you remembering that extra step to set it in the controller, and that the names have to match as well. Like you're tying the use of the partial to the name of the instance variable as well, which we want to try and avoid. All right, so I think we can do that if we. What I think we might want to do here is pass in to this partial the group of groups that we've got, and we can define a name for it ourselves. And when we pass it in, every time we use this render shared upcoming stream, we can't just put in this line. We also have to tell it, hey, here's the collection of grouped games that you need. So I'm not, and it could be from an instance variable, it could be from whatever it is, but we have to give it explicitly to the partial rather than just having it existing in the world.
Okay.
And so I'm really aware that we've got, I don't know how much time we've got because
We've got a bit of time. I can go a little bit longer.
we can go a little bit longer. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try and look at what the actual docs say around this because partials like Rails. I'm going to try and follow like the official Rails docs way of doing this. Which is, I'm going to try and find a link for the chat. Oh, I think this is going to be a tuple thing. If I paste a link in here, I think it might open in your browser. Is that okay if I just...
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to send this link. Wow, amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Magic. So if you scroll us down to what section is it? Passing local variables. I don't know where it is.
Local variables.
344.
344. It's probably an easy. There's probably a menu at the top I could have clicked.
Yeah, I was looking for. I can see it.
3-3. 3-4. 3-4-3 or 3-4.
344. So if we take a look at locals, it's been a while since I've done these just with partials because I've been diddling around with other stuff. So this is, you can pass local variables into partials, making them even more powerful and flexible. For example, you can use the technique to reduce duplication between new and edit pages while still keeping a bit of distinct content. So if you look at what's actually happening here, so I don't know if we need all this syntax, but it's been a while since I've done this. So let's just keep going and we'll just kind of figure this out as we go. I don't know if we actually, I don't know if we need this, and I don't know if we need this, but we'll figure it out. But if you look at what's happening here, this says zone : and then @zone. And what's happening there is it's basically like, right, we've got this partial called form. Yours happens to be called upcoming stream. And it's like, right, within there, what I want to do is always rely on the fact that this partial needs a zone to exist. Now, I happen to have an instance variable called zone, so I'm going to pass that in. But this instance variable could be called my favorite zone, new zone, fancy zone, something like that. But by the time I pass it in here, when I'm then working on the partial, in here, it's going to be called zone. So I don't need to, like, I can call it whatever I want on the way in, but once I'm in there, I'm assigning it to zone here. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. That's basically where you're setting what is now the team games or the group games is currently.
Yes, and within that partial, it will only ever be that name. And so you're basically then saying, I'm kind of limiting my behavior, and the page that wants to include this partial, you have to give me this because otherwise I'll fail, and it has to, like, it has to work. So let's give that a try to start with. So if we go back to your
also just quickly, will it make a difference? I think I'm on Rails 6 at the moment.
No, because this is old school code. I think this is actually like the official way to do this. But I never use render partial. I always just pass in the string. And then I also never use locals. I always just pass in a hash. And I very much, because I haven't done this in a while, because I'm sort of using something different on the project I'm streaming at the moment. but there's some difference between passing in locals and not passing in locals, and I can't remember what it is. But we'll try it the proper way, and then we'll kind of we'll come to
So
it.
should I just copy that so we've got got it, and then we can sort of switch it out and change it on the other views? Or
No, I think we're good. I think we just need to remember this locals part. Let's try the locals part. So if we go back to our let's do our competition. Let's stay with our competitions one. So in here, if we do comma locals, and we're gonna set a hash. So we need a colon and curly brackets.
Curly brackets.
And what are we gonna call this within the partial? So it's called grouped games in one place. It's called, what was the one on teams called?
Team games.
Team games. So what is it? Like, what's the name of the thing that we're passing into this partial? It's a.
Can we call it upcoming stream? Because that's what it is.
But it's not one upcoming stream, right? Like it's a group of upcoming streams.
We can call it streams. Yeah. Streams. Upcoming streams.
Upcoming streams. Okay, I'm going to go with you on this one because it's your naming. So upcoming streams sounds good to me.
Upcoming streams.
If that's what we're happy with. Hello
so
in the
I'm
chat.
I'm just writing upcoming streams here.
Yep, upcoming streams, and then that's the name of what it's going to be in the
Do you
partial.
have an underscore?
Yep.
Upcoming streams.
And then we want a colon, and then we're going to assign a value to this. And the value that we're going to assign is the instance variable that we had,
which is
previously
games on this one, wasn't it?
I cannot remember, but yes, there you go. It's automatically. So I think we want.
Should the colon be after locals?
Yeah. So we that
no
S. There will be no space there, but then a space after, and then that should work. Yeah, that's fine. So what we're saying here is, for this partial specifically, I am going to give it a thing. It doesn't actually care what it is at all. It says I'm going to give it a thing called upcoming streams. And when I get to this code in here, it knows to look for this thing called upcoming streams. Rails is going to take care of all of that magic. Mm-hmm. And for that, I'm going to take something that's been created that's specific to this page. This thing doesn't give a crap what the name of grouped games is. This code here is never going to see the words grouped games. It's only going to know it as upcoming streams.
Yeah.
And it's a collection. And so that's what we've done. So when we then go back to, if we save this and jump back to our partial, what we should be able to do here is potentially if we take a look, how many places do we actually use this at grouped games at the moment?
What, across the whole project?
No, just in this partial.
Oh,
so do you have Command F on RubyMine? I don't know how anything happens in RubyMine.
Grouped.
But games. Just specifically with the at symbol at the start as well. Great. So it's only used twice. Okay, yes. Amazing. So you've got one of two up here. So if we swap this out for, I've already forgotten the name you just gave it, upcoming streams. So if we swap out at group games for upcoming streams in the partial, does this still work? Because I can't remember if I have to call.
Does it need an at or not?
So it doesn't. So the at indicates that it's an instance variable. And in Rails, when we set those on a controller, they become magically available in a view. But what we've done in that render call is explicitly say, this isn't going to be an instance variable anymore. This is a variable that is local to this partial. And so if it's unset, this is going to explode and show a cool error. But as long as you've passed it incorrectly, I don't care if it's when you set it from an instance variable, which is what we've done. But when you get here, it's just for me as a partial. So let's see if this works.
So then we go back.
I have no idea if this will work, by the way. I can't remember that syntax at all. So this
we were on BBL Championship, weren't we? Whee!
Amazing. So undefined local variable or method upcoming stream. So it hasn't automatically passed through. And that is, I knew there was something to do with locals not being the same thing. What happens if you just take locals out of sheer curiosity? I'm going to have to Google otherwise because my memory's not good enough. If you just pass a hash in. Yeah, just take that bit out. Okay, give that a go. Just out of curiosity, does that work? It fucking does as well. Right, there's a difference between passing locals and not passing locals. And the homework for everyone, including myself, is to go remember what the hell that difference is. Right, does this work though? Because is this our partial? We didn't leave the old code around, right?
No, we removed the whole
removed the whole
thing. So in the competitions, it's just, and we've just got past games below that. So yeah, no.
Okay, hang on a second. Let me just Google and just check that we're not screwing anything over. Like Rails partials locals. Do I need scientific render partial object versus locals ribbon Rails? Here we go. We'll make sure the account room use it as option the biggest one is locals. Okay, there is a. I'm gonna share this. I'm gonna open up another tab on your machine.
Okay.
Someone very diligent has written up the difference of rendering it with an object. We just passed a hash in rather than calling local specifically. So anyone who's interested, I'm gonna collect up all these URLs and put them in the YouTube description afterwards. There is a difference. We're not going to worry about it right now because we just need one thing called group games. So we're just going to brush over all of that stuff and just say we're good. You can use locals and you can do fancy stuff with there. We're just going to pass in the one thing we need and move on with our lives. But anyone who wants to be more diligent can go and read about this afterwards.
Cool.
Okay, so let's jump back to our other uses of render then. And
so we've done competitions. We've got to do teams.
Yeah, can I just check? So what should happen now is, can I just check that we do now have super cool exploding errors on the teams view and the home index view? Because now we've changed that thing. So we should get lovely errors, hopefully.
No, we don't.
Damn it. Okay, so if we refresh
That's
that,
the teams. And what was the other one? The index. Did we put it on the index? Oh, the index is working as well.
Are these cached or is that? Oh, this is on live though.
Right. Oh, good point. Easily done.
Yeah. Amazing. That's exactly what we're looking for. Okay, so all right, this is perfect. So this is what we wanted to see. So this has broken for the exact reason that we wanted it to break. We were relying on an instance variable that we had set that was like available to us everywhere, whereas now we've limited the scope of our partial so that it becomes more reusable. So we've set some rules. So now we have to go and give on the Teams page the same thing. We have to tell it what upcoming streams is. So here,
look at this. So we just got to do the hash again.
Yep.
So I should probably get in the habit of typing out, but I always just copy and paste because I just feel like it's easier.
We're on this planet for too short a time to worry about that.
And so this on this one we've called it team games.
So on this one we've called it team games. Yes. So we now
I can delete all of this. I can push up in the container.
We've got a double comment. We can. Oh yeah, you want it inside the container. Yeah, so that we can come. Let's do that bit at the end and talk about what the impact of what we've just done is. Yeah, so that can go in, and then everything else can go. Yeah, we just got to find the right end, otherwise we'll get a different error.
I think it's this one. Maybe this div as
well. Sure, that's nah. Do it. It'll work. We feel happy about it.
I think there's an extra div that shouldn't be there. Maybe.
There is an end. There's an end there. Yeah. That's one pull request on this repo should be just you fixing the fixing the indentations.
Yeah. There we go, and we're back in action.
All right, so we're back in action. So again, this is still working, even though the collection name in the controller is different.
Yeah,
we're passing it to the partial as upcoming streams. So we've got one more to do, which is our home stream, our homepage one, which should be the same code as the other one because it's called grouped games, so we can lift that one straight over.
Oh, whoops! Definitely don't want to do that. I pasted. I thought I had it. Copied, but I had the other code. So home, upcoming stream, group games, and then I can just delete all of this, right?
Yeah.
Oh, interestingly, the container starts here. That should be in the container, that part.
Amazing. So a partial solve your problem. So you've got containers starting in different places depending on where this is copy and pasted. So that the partial will force you to think about that basically.
Yeah, and then delete that last end. And then I think
we've got spare ends. Yeah, I think they look relevant. Yeah, let's get rid of them as well. But we don't know. But indentation will save us.
Hang on a minute. What did I just? Oh no, we're okay. These two are spare ends.
I'm hoping so.
Well, we're about to find out.
See, this is so like you got to be ruthless in your indentation.
Ah, it worked.
Okay, amazing.
Yes.
All right. that's
Sweet.
basically it. And that brings us to 5+. So a couple of things that I think are worth mentioning here in terms of this stuff. Like, hopefully this has been useful, but what I think is really like partials and all of their ilk, like the idea of taking a bunch of code you're going to reuse, is the things it forces you to think about when you're deciding, like, if you copy and paste something twice, maybe you're going to get away with it, but a third time really is like, okay, a red flag. I'm going to need to do something with this. But the example you just showed at the end there, where the container element here, which probably just has some CSS associated with it, there's something, it frames the code somehow. So we're making a decision. We've made a decision off the cuff, which is that we have included a bunch of code in this partial that assumes there is some sort of container wrapper. So we've now put code inside a partial that relies on code outside a partial. So what we could logically say is, in the only 3 places we've used this, we've had to wrap it in container. So why not move the container inside the partial? However, what you might say is, well, actually the partial only represents one small part of the user interface within there. I don't want to tightly couple my use of this to, there might be other stuff in the container. And that thought process like kicks off this like decision making process where you're like, okay, well, maybe what I've actually got is 2 partials, or I have to pass in another thing that decides whether to include the container or not. And there's like, the act of refactoring your view code is a really good mechanism of forcing you to do the hard work of thinking like, when am I going to use this? Like, how reusable is it? Am I going to be able to plonk it anywhere? Do I need it to sometimes behave differently? If so, is that a different partial? And all of these are like super valuable questions. You have shown earlier in the stream some wireframes, which are amazing opportunities. If you're really early in a feature to start thinking this stuff through, you might be like, hey, these bits are really similar. Are they the same, or are they just really similar? How small can we make the partials? A partial could be anything from a single line of text, a button, all the way up to half a page, all the way up to a whole page, potentially, with just a bunch of stuff passed in. So all of that is up to you. And like, now that you have that extra tool in your toolbox, hopefully it's something where you'll be like, oh, hang on, I'm going to screw myself over here, which is all we spend our time doing. Yeah. So like, did any of this make any sense?
Yeah. No, that's super useful. Like, I can see tomorrow morning what I'll do is so the next thing I need to do is this is exactly the same situation with the archive on every page, this table. So I'll do the same thing. I'll create a partial for archive table or whatever, and then put that live on the competitions and the clubs and the team pages to help clean it up. So yeah, no, I feel like I can do it by myself. Now that we've done this, it's been super, super useful. So yeah, thank you so much.
A note on the tables: don't forget that like for tables, like, is the row the partial? Is the table the partial? Is the, like, because partials could include other partials. It's like a nesting doll scenario. I'm not going to go down that road right now. But we're going to wrap things up. But a massive thank you to anyone who's dropped by and said hello in the chat. Justin, I have popped a link to the repo. Justin was asking around what the stack for this site looks like. And so as far as I'm aware, this is a pure Rails app hosted on Heroku at the moment, I think. Is that right, Sam?
Yeah, pretty much. And I think, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I've posted a link to the repo, so if people want to take a look. I've posted it in the chat, and I will post it again in the YouTube videos. We thank you to people posting about how we get file type coloring in RubyMine. We'll have to figure that out another time. There was some sort of option there. Yeah, and thank you to people dropping by. We may or may not do this again. If people find it useful, please let us know somehow, or on Twitter and YouTube and things like that. And a massive thank you to you, Sam, for letting us take a look at your code and for taking part. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so did I. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
It was amazing. All right. In that case, we're going to wrap it up. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Sunday Club will be back Sunday, 10:30 a.m. Sam will be streaming, who knows what time? Do you like early?
Between 5 and 5:30 every day, pretty much.
Between 5 and 5:30 every day. I will put a link to his Twitch channel. Just look. Sam, how do you pronounce your surname?
Nita.
Look up Sam Neter. That's SAMNETER on Twitch. He's also that on Twitter. So look him up on there. 5:30 every day. Don't worry, because Twitch stores them as videos, so you don't have to get up at 5 a.m. You can just watch them later on. I do that part and then just message him later. All right. Okay. Wonderful. Have a lovely evening, everyone. And we will see you soon. Thanks a lot.
See ya.